Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today I've got an episode of Sniper Sunday, the series where we'll be playing the recon class using different types of sniper rifles and talking about sniping tactics. It's the start of the round on goal med and I've set up a C4 booby trap. Taking out the aggressive players early on can be a great way to demoralize the enemy team from being too aggressive later in the round, and it can definitely give you a foothold in the beginning of the game. We'll be primarily focusing on the M98B sniper rifle today, and of course that G18 is our trusty sidearm for dealing with anybody in close quarters. We've got the M98 decked out with some desert spray camo. I've got the 8x rifle scope on there, and then we've got the straight pole bolt to maximize my rate of fire. Now, as I've talked about in many sniper videos, the objective as the recon class in most games is to try and maximize your distance from your opponent. This is where you're going to get the advantage, and when you can do things like I'm doing right here, which is head glitching through some weird rubble spots on the map, it not only makes you a hard target to spot, but it basically conceals like 90 to 95% of your body, so somebody's pretty much got to get a direct headshot on you, and if not, it's got to be a sniper rifle headshot, otherwise you're just going to take a little damage and you'll be able to duck behind some cover. Now obviously your scope glint will give you away at longer distances. This kind of defeats the purpose of like hiding as a sniper, as it just makes you an easy target to spot out. But if you want to avoid that, you can always use a 4x magnifier. This will, however, make it much harder to get those headshots at further distances. If you use anything beyond a 4x magnifier, you're going to get that scope glint, and it's going to be the exact same level of brightness regardless of what times magnifier it is beyond 4. Now, if you've managed to maximize your distance from your opponent, then your worst enemy at this point is other snipers, and they're definitely going to see that scope glint, so you always want to stay light on your feet. Move around. It is tempting to go prone and pop out a bipod and really kind of embrace the sniper mentality. However, that style of gameplay just doesn't work well in Battlefield 4. It's too easy to get a headshot on a stationary target. And if you don't have any overhead cover, then mortars are going to be one of your biggest enemies, so that's another reason to stay moving. You could always try and use a suppressor so that you're not as easily spotted by mortar users, but that's also going to really affect your effectiveness at range. Chances are you're going to see heavy mortar use in other game modes like Rush. You probably won't see them as much in Team Deathmatch unless you are rooftop camping, and you're going to see a little bit of that at the end of this video. Now, something I haven't talked about in a while is customizing your UI. Now, if you look at my minimap right now, it's fairly large in the lower left-hand corner. I've set this to 150% of the normal size. You can ramp it all the way up to 200%. I personally think that's a little bit large, but whatever you like is up to you. Then I've also set it so that 50 meters is the default range at which it's magnified, and this allows me to basically locate targets that are close to me, 50 meters or closer, and it's basically going to just set it up better for close quarter combat and make it a little more useful for identifying close quarter threats. Now you might be thinking, well, that's not really useful as a sniper. Well, it certainly is. If you're trying to avoid close quarter threats, then you definitely want to know where they are. As far as long range threats go, you can always pop up your larger map or just constantly scan your environment, which is what you should be doing as a recon anyway. Since the latest patch, you can hear footsteps a lot better, and also make sure to keep your ears peeled for those suppressed weapons. If you rely 100% on your minimap for locating close quarter threats, you're definitely going to miss some of the better players who don't shoot until they have a confirmed kill shot on you or are running suppressed weapons. Now, gadget wise, my loadout changes up quite a bit depending on what game mode I'm playing. If I'm playing offensively on Rush, I'll definitely use a spawn beacon, maybe a tugs or a motion sensor grenade, depending on how aggressive I actually want to play. If I'm playing defensively on a Rush map, I can again use like a tugs and a spawn beacon, or maybe something like a claymore near some of the MCOMs. In TDM, I'll run with a claymore sometimes if I know I'm going to be rooftop camping. Otherwise, if I know that I'm just going to be running around the map in different situations, I'll usually run with C4 because I really like the ability to be able to get through walls and bring down structures. Setting up your spawn beacon somewhere in a concealed area on the perimeter of the map, or maybe inside a container that people aren't expecting, is a great way to flank your enemies. Sometimes you'll get taken out by an offensive flank that you just can't stop, and you can spawn back in behind the entire flank and get a lot of easy kills. Now, when playing TDM, the beginning of the match is generally the most dangerous time for a recon class because it's going to be a little bit more chaotic. Then people are going to be trying all these different flanking maneuvers, and when they get in close quarters, that's where you're at your biggest disadvantage. Once you've been playing that map for a while, and say you're 100 tickets in, if it's a bigger server, and front lines have kind of established themselves, that's where the recon class can really start to excel, because you can stand behind the front lines and start to pick off those headshots at further ranges without having to worry too much about that returning fire. Now, I've said it a couple times, but playing the recon class on Goal Mud Railway Rush game mode is a really good time. You can almost always guarantee that you're going to have some pretty good sniping opportunities, depending on how much UCAV and mortar spam there is, and there always seems to be a lot of it in any of the game modes I play. Here I'm trying to cross a very large piece of open ground, and I'm managing to stop along the way and pick off some sniper targets. You know, sometimes I just try and make it across the open ground, but if I see a lot of targets and nobody's spotted me yet, then I'll stop along the way, try and pick off a few. Hitting parachuters out of the sky is certainly one of the benefits of the M98B. It has one of the fastest muzzle velocities of any of the bolt-action sniper rifles, so when trying to lead your target, you don't have to lead as much with the M98B as you would with pretty much any other bolt-action. The only one with faster muzzle velocity is the JNG90, but that one has a slightly shorter drop-off distance, so you're going to be hitting your max damage sooner with that one, where the M98B reaches out much further. They're both going to be one-shot headshot kills at any range regardless. Now, sometimes you're forced to engage people at sort of more of a medium range engagement, and oftentimes you won't one-shot kill them. This is where you're going to want to switch to your sidearm as fast as possible. Even the G18 will be able to down somebody very quickly at medium ranges, provided that you got that one body shot into your opponent already. I'll usually go for that option rather than trying to shoot somebody in the body twice with the bolt action. You'll be a little bit quicker switching to your sidearm, and it's generally a safer option rather than trying to get that bolt action kill. Here you'll notice I'm using the 14x variable zoom scope. I can switch between this and my 8x scope, and this just allows me to be a little bit more precise when trying to pick off those long range targets. And I'm also nearing that 500th kill with the M98B. This is certainly one of the best bolt action sniper rifles out there. I simply haven't used it as much because I think I like the SRR61 slightly better just because it has lesser bullet drop than this, but it doesn't mean that the M98B is not a good gun. It's incredibly good and incredibly accurate. Now, if you really do want to practice at becoming one of the best bolt action snipers out there, I would recommend sticking to one type of rifle. Yes, the differences between them are fairly subtle, but learning that bullet drop is key to becoming good with these sniper rifles. So M98B, JNG90, the SRR61, those are all extremely good choices. There's other rifles out there that might suit your liking a little bit more, but those would be my top picks. Now, this is the location I was talking about that I would use a claymore to block off the stairs. This is just such an overpowered location. I think it's actually a really big map design flaw. Sure, there's a lot of mortars and people that try and take us out with UCAVs, but a lot of the time if you're moving around, you can avoid getting killed by those mortars. They will usually take out your claymores though. I think it should be a basic rule of thumb when designing a battlefield map that if you have any rooftop, there should not be only one access point to it. That's just basically asking for snipers to camp up there and block it off with claymores. I mean, if mortars were not allowed in this game mode, then there would be literally no way to clear off spawn beacons and mortars and stuff like that from this roof. The other thing that makes this roof so incredibly powerful is that it pretty much has line of sight on, like, I would say 70% of the map. So no matter where the enemy team is, you're usually going to be getting some pretty good headshot opportunities. Chances are they also won't really be looking at you unless it's, say, a counter sniper trying to take you out. And even so, you have the option of just peeking your head over the rooftop ledge just enough so that you're only exposing a very small portion of your body. Anyways, you can see from the score screen, it's incredibly overpowered. I was mostly just taking advantage of this to illustrate a point and also get those 500 kills for the M98B. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.